Hey there, welcome back guys. This video is suggested by one of our viewers. Don't want to butcher their name, but I will just get it in 1 second. I can just get it to load. This video is suggested by viewer Shahzad Khan. Commented, how does one update firmware DFU mode? Because apparently on the new version 2, the flight controller might be a little bit difficult to access, and I believe there's a capacitor on there, etc., and other things. But without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so basically all the notes will be, or steps will be, at the bottom of the description below. I'm going to walk you through it because my I guess from like changing the settings, updating the settings, changing the settings up on the Pavo Pico, this thing takes a lot of wear and tear, and now that it came off, I can get it to load a little bit if I just hold it like that, a solid connection, but I wouldn't recommend flashing the firmware with a broken connector, the USB thingy, and it's hard to find online. But I'm gonna do another video on how to fix this, because I'm sure other viewers probably have the same experience from pulling it in, pulling it out, put it in, take it out. It's kind of like at a supermarket: put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out. Yeah, so it's a bummer, but I'll walk you through the steps, and I'll show you how I found these steps. I didn't just pull it out of my ass. Basically, I followed the chart on the Pavo Pico website. So let me show you. All right, so the first thing you want to do is download ExpressELRS, right? That's the software that's going to let you get into the firmware of the Pavo Pico version 2. Then you're going to download Betaflight, as suggested on the site. Okay, so once you download ExpressELRS, you're gonna let me connect my drone if I can. For sure my USB-C is working. These are good cables, but they're not the best. Like the connection drops and holds, drops and then holds. But I figured out how to get the drone connected. Let's see. Give me a second. I'll probably cut this part out so that you don't have to sit through. It's really hard. I'm glad on the version 2. I'm just trying to get it loaded, because it's really tricky, and I have to let it hold and stay in one position so the wire doesn't pop out. All right, so it's loading. My drone is flashing, and yours should be flashing too. All right, so I'm going to show you where everything came from. Okay, so as you can see here, it says here, I'm going to highlight for you. If you fly with the DJI controller, which is the DJI controller, right? You know which one we're talking about. It's probably over there somewhere. And want to turn off the internal ELRS receiver on board, please flash RX firmware. Close the auto Wi-Fi on interval option and select UART 5. Okay? So on that note, we're going to do that step first, okay? So I'm going to load the ExpressELRS, and it should load for you too. Remember, all my videos happen in real time, all right? No edits unless, I do fancy intro like in the beginning. All right, so this should load, and if it doesn't load, and if you get a spinning, whatever you call it, loading screen, that means your firewall is blocking it. And apparently the firewall I have is pretty aggressive. See, now it loads. So my firewall was on, didn't allow the program to call back home. And so that can be tricky sometimes, but that's because I'm doing this on Sonoma, the new operating system, and it hasn't been released yet. But that's another story. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to device category, right? There's a little drop menu there. You're going to select Beta FPV 2 gigahertz. Now remember, this is for the version 2. Don't do this to your version 1, because there's no Wi-Fi connector thingy. All right, so now for the next one, device, right? How do I know which device to use? Really easy. I'll show you. I'm going to go back here. So now we're done with this window, right? We're following the directions, okay? And then in this window here, see, RX firmware version. So we want to look for the RX, right? Beta FPV AIO 2400. Okay, so now we go back into this application and look for RX AIO, and that's the only selection that you have right there when it comes to the AIO. All right, so we're not guessing. We're doing this based on what the information they're giving us based on the controller, flight controller. That's for the version 2. Okay, so if you choose another one and fuck it up, just double check everything, because this is only gonna, you only get one shot, you know. So I've never flashed a firmware with the wrong firmware, so I don't know what will happen if he's like, oh no, I clicked the wrong one. Oh wait, AIO. Like if you did this, it says RX. Oh, there it is. There's RX. All right, got it. Thanks, Lewis. And then you go down and you want to deselect. You see auto Wi-Fi on. Just deselect that. And then now what you want to do is flash the drive. But you see, like I was saying before, double check, because remember, we just don't want the RX. You want the AIO RX. See, that's how you can mess up. So double check, pause the video. I'm going to go over one more time, because you're going to shit yourself out of $50 if you screw it up. Okay, so Beta FPV AIO 2400, right? The ELRS is 2.5.2, okay? All right, so there it is, right there. And there is no other one. We can scroll down. I'm just gonna scroll and see, so you can see the other options that are there. And you'll see the other options that are there too. See, there aren't many. And that's it. So we're gonna select that again. See, we've got 2.4 gigahertz AIO RX, and then Betaflight 2.4 gigahertz, because that's the version that we got, that I got. Hopefully that's what you got. If not, just stop watching the video and find some other channel. It's a bummer that there aren't many resources on this particular drone, the Pavo Pico. Pavo Pico. Can't move that. Yeah, that'll screw everything up. All right, I'm not going to flash anyway, but thankfully I was able to connect. And I'll remember, I'm going to put together another video on how to fix that wire. So everything's here, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to flash the drive. Before you flash it, make sure auto Wi-Fi interval on is deselected. As it says here, I know you're probably like, I just said that already. I know I did, but I remember, you only get one take. See where it says? Whoops, right there. And if you can't see that, what I'll do is, hold on one second. You know, it's not like you get to take a double take when flashing the firmware. I've flashed firmwares in the past and was very unsuccessful in that sense. Okay, there we go. And once it bricks, basically it will brick the device. Sometimes, I don't know how it is nowadays when you brick the wrong firmware onto a device. See right there? I'm going to stretch it out. See? Auto Wi-Fi on interval. And then what does it say to do? It says, right there. If you fly with the DJI controller and want to turn off the on board, please reflash RX firmware, close auto Wi-Fi option, and then select UART 5. Okay, I think I said that more than enough times, because remember, this is your investment. Just pay attention. All right, so that's it. So now we go back to ExpressELRS configurator, right? And now what we're going to do is we're going to you just flash your drive. All right, but I don't see it on mine, because probably because my cable's broken. But you see actions, manual serial device selection. You would select your, I presume, your port here, and then go, and then moving forward, go back into Betaflight and do the configuration in there too. See, it says use manual serial port selection if automatic selection fails to select a correct port. In the vast majority, in the vast majority of cases, there is no need to use this option, okay? So vast majority of cases, there's no need to, but remember my wire is broken. But if you see UART 5 there, select it. If not, just leave it. If drive is flashed, what I would recommend doing is quitting the application. So what you're going to do is you're going to quit it because you don't want to have double connections connected when you go into Betaflight, right? And it's said to use UART 5, okay? So basically it would be the same settings as in 6. So I'm going to launch Betaflight. And hopefully you will have downloaded Betaflight. I remember these are the steps that we're going through in the document that I created, which is right here. Okay. All right, so we selected that, right? We selected the firmware. We deselected the auto Wi-Fi, selected flash, okay? Now we're gonna open up Betaflight and select UART 5, and it should work, all right? All right. And you can also double check your display port, etc. But that should load automatically for me, hopefully, because the wire. Oops, we don't want. Oh no! Hold on. I don't want Photoshop to load. All right. So on that note, we're going to launch Betaflight. All right. Hopefully it loads. All right. So this is the Betaflight version 10.9.0. See that? And then what we're going to do is connect. I wasn't sure whether to click auto connect or not. I usually keep mine enabled in expert mode. All right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go into configuration, not configuration, ports. All right. So you see that? So instead of UART 6, right? It's going to be 5. So you're going to turn off 6 if you see it. Turn on 5. Save and reboot. Okay? And then everything else should be fine because it said 4 was 4. 4 should say as 4. And then VTX MSP plus, I think, DisplayPort. Yeah. All right. And then that's that. Again, this channel is for beginners. The reason why I created this channel is because when I bought my first drone, I had so many questions and I just couldn't find any answers. I was on the forum, the Facebook group, and then everyone's like, read the manual. And there were, you know, sometimes some of your questions were geared as, oh, he's a troll, or, you know, or, oh, read the manual, or like just snarky remarks and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take the show on the road because, but I didn't decide to take the show on the road until I was like, oh, wow, it's really cool. I figured it out. And then, oh, wow, it's really cool. I figured it out. And then I was in the forums, and then it wasn't like an isolated experience for me. It was just for anyone who was new. A lot of the veterans that are on these websites for the drones, whether it's the Mavic 3, the Pavo Pico seems okay, the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and there's actually a new group for the DJI Mini 3 Pro, and it's called the drone friendly group. So everyone left that group and just created their own group because of what was happening with these other groups. And then, you know, there was little pockets and small isolated experiences that were being experienced in the friendly group, but not as much as it was in other groups. And then I was like, you know what, I can't. You know, so then I just, as you saw, I locked myself in the room and was like, you know what, let me just figure this out. And then I figured it's a way to help other people that that have this, you know, that have the issue. It's hard to find online. And so the next thing I'm working on, I'm trying to find rates. I really want to fly this thing indoors. And oh my God, it almost came out. I really want to fly this thing indoors, but it's hard to find rates. Everyone's like, apparently, according to the professional FPV users, rates are personal. They're sort of like preference and what you think. So maybe that's their reluctance to wanting to share rates. But I don't really give a shit about preference. I just want to be able to know what the basic rates are so that a new guy can fly the drone, you know, basically. And then, you know, as you get better, someone shared the rates, but they didn't really explain where to put them. There was one comment that was left. And then there was one really, if I check the comments, I forget which video it was, but one of the viewers actually said to put the throttle to 75%. And then that was great. And then I was like, hey, you want to collaborate on a video and doing rates? And then that was it. Then they just disappeared into the shadow. They just like threw me a bone and then like, okay, you're on your own. You know, I'm like, damn it. You know, like why can't you just like help people out that are new to this, you know, I guess sport or hobby, right? With Horizon Hobby, I actually love Horizon Hobby. You to put in an email in 2 or 3 days, they get back to you and they're like, okay, what's your problem? It's hard for them to get back to you now because it takes longer. And by then you probably would have found your solution. And when they call you, they're like, oh yeah, I figured it out. Thanks anyway. I remember when I called them to figure out how to use my Spectrum charger and then some other issues with the batteries. But anyway, on that note, so hopefully you did everything, you saved it and reboot and everything's good to go. But I just wanted to share with you some PID tuning that I had done. And the only, you know, so what I had done was I changed the motor output to 67. He had suggested don't go below 65. Originally I had put it to 75 and then I lowered it, but then that was okay. You know, it did fair. And then there are another settings that I had changed. I think it was the rate port. Yeah. So in the rate port, now this allowed me, remember this is for the new guy who wants to be able to do, you'll see in a second what I was doing, okay? I set the throttle limit to 80, okay? And then what I did was, center sensitivity, 70, hold down. And then max rate, 580. I just did that. And then once I did that, I was able to like control the sticks a little bit better. And then also what I did was throttle limit, I set to scale. So you can pause the video and see these rates. But remember, before you change anything in your flight controller, go into the CLI, right? And then type dump all. Just taking a dump. And whoever thought, like, all right, so then what you're going to do, save to file and just save it whatever you want. I'm going to save this as slow, because slow rates. And then I'm going to click save. And now make your changes, because then what you want to do is, let's say you're like, I don't know what the fuck that guy's talking about. I need my old rates back. So what you do is, if you want your old rates back, you double tap, copy it, and then just copy it, right? So I'm going to change something on one of my rates so that you can see how this works. Go back into Betaflight, and then go back into PID tuning. Connect. Uh-oh. Oh no, oh, I thought the wire thingy got disconnected. And then you go, I went into PID tuning, and then I went into rate profile settings. I'm going to change from scale to off, okay? And now I'm going to click save. And now I'm going to quit Betaflight, let it load again. Those are the notes. Keep the notes handy, because if your computer breaks down, it's like, wow, or the internet, you know, you can't access YouTube for the day. They're like, oh, YouTube's down today. And you're like, oh man, I need those rates again. So now I'm going to load Betaflight again. And you'll see the old settings there. Hopefully it connects. Don't touch that dial. All right, PID tuning rates. And 80, see, it's off. So you're like, I don't like that. And you can't remember, because a lot of this is a little overwhelming, and even I have trouble remembering. That's why I'm always taking a dump with my CLI. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in, because remember I copied my old settings, right? And then press return enter. And let's see. Yeah, there are a lot of videos. Everyone's talking about rates. They're all like, hey man, check out my rates. And then they're like, wait, hold it right there. And I keep having to take a screenshot, because they just, like, I guess, what are you supposed to pause the video to get someone's rates and then, you know, continue on and move on? Because there's, and then there's I think I call him the godfather of FPV, Josh Bradwell, I think his name is. I think he might have an answer, but I think it's like you have to pay for to become one of his Patreons or something. So, you know, and there's a form, and then probably inside the form. But then again, when you know, I don't know. My experience has been, you know, what it is. I'm still figuring shit out on my own because no one's actually. I've gotten two bones, I can say, but that's it. You know, but I need something more elaborate, and you want something more elaborate because you're new to this, just like me. All right. So now, when I click connect, and if I go to PID tuning, and if I click here, it should say scale. See, it says scale, and everything else stays the same. All right. So that's how you do it whenever you make a change, because sometimes things get overwhelming and you crash, and then you wind up fixing it. And this is a great. Almost moved it again. This is a great starter getting into FPV, because you take it apart, you fix it, you're soldering it, you're doing tweaks here and there. I've broken the propellers. I have had to solder the flight controller board. I've had to solder the motors because the wire came off, similar to the connector thingy. So I soldered it because I don't know, I have to wait for them to ship me my new propellers. So, you know, this is a lot of learning experiences that you're not going to, you know, that can be a little bit more overwhelming with the bigger FPV drone, and more expensive too. This is actually cheaper. I mean, cheaper in a sense where it's not, once you have your DJI O3 air unit, if anything major happens, it's going to be to the propellers, to the motors, or something you soldered on, or my GPS, because I have the GPS on there. I've had to solder that a couple of times. And as long as you keep the UV filter on there, that's going to save the lens on your O3 air unit. And it's just fun to work on, you know. And then I would move on to another drone. Like I have another drone but I'm not ready for it yet. I think if I can fly upstairs, like I did with these new rates, which was really cool because I was able to fly really slow and tweak upstairs and then back down again, then I'll probably open up the new drone. But then again, maybe I should start flying in soon because of the battery, right? Because if you leave these I'm not sure what the life expectancy is on that, if that's just sitting there. And I only have one battery, because, you know, I'm on the fence, because needs to be in, but I could always take it to the open field. Anyway, on that note, so why don't we check out this flight and see. I'll let you guys have a look. I finally made it upstairs. It's like, you know, it's quite the accomplishment that, you know, has a new FPV pilot to able to figure out. Is that one it? No, that's where I oh, but I'll tell you. So it took 2 attempts, right? So it starts up, camera ready. Oh, and also one of the, I got another bone thrown to me. Thank you for that. If you delete the flip feature and the beep feature, because this Pavo Pico doesn't really need it. See that? That will eliminate the error when trying to start up. See, I was like almost there, but barely made it. But I was able to turn. If you've watched my other videos, I always crashed there and never made it back. This time I didn't have to get up. So you see, it's not bad. Now, if you want something cinematic, you're not going to get it. Work on the flying skills, and then, you know, level up like a video game. And you can see I'm in angle mode. But again, if you're watching this video and you are, you know, the FPV godfather, throw us a bone. Like, what settings should these be so I can fly inside, or everyone, you know, can fly. So now let's check out the second one. That's really cool. So now I finally made it upstairs, but crashed into my wife's office. But luckily I didn't break anything, because it could have, you know, the LCD monitor. All right, so here we go. Core temperature. Remember, angle mode for the beginner, the new guy, or whatever works for you. But this is just what works for me. And all right, so let's see. And it worked. You know, like, it's not like I'm just talking about it. Proof is in the pudding. All right, so let's see. Made it there. See how like you're able to touch the knobs here and there. You know, I did. And you have to know when to turn. You have to calculate in a way, in your mind, like where you want it, where the areas are. At least that's how I fly. And then bang, right there. It's really cool, huh? So you sort of have to calculate and know where things are. And then some guys are really intuitive. They can just fly like first time, open up their FPV package and, bind and fly and like without having to scout out the place. But, not everyone's that way. So for me, I had to like, okay, I know it's there. I know it's there. And like know the distance between what objects are where and where. But basically having good depth and perception. But even if you don't have it, you'll still get it. You just, as you saw, it'll just happen when it needs to happen the more you practice. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I hope this video helped you and you're better able to know what to do with your Pavo Pico version 2 if you need to flash the firmware to open up port 5. And then pour yourself a port, because I'm pretty sure after that you deserve a drink. If you have any comments or suggestions for other videos, please leave them down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.